everybody. Welcome back to Off the Wall. My name's Mike.
I'm Sol.
And I'm Bogz.
And we're finally here to talk about episode 5 of The Boys, Herogasm. We knew it was coming. We'll see what we thought about it. Let's, just so everyone's, we kind of touched on it last week, but yeah, Herogasm is this legendary story run from The Boys comic books about this annual party that Vought holds for the Soups to get together and unwind. Slight deviation for how things were going in the show. Let's start it off. Bogz, what'd you think, man?
Thanks, Mike. Honestly, I was expecting it to be really kind of crude and how can I say, just gruesome and gory and everything. But it was done, I guess, like the story comes first. So, for example, obviously this herogasm thing, it didn't happen for, I think, about 35 minutes into the episode. So they kind of built everything up. And when it does happen, for me, it happened kind of really quick. So meaning, obviously, they were kind of revealing what was behind each door, if you will, or behind each curtain. And then all of a sudden, like each character comes in, whether it's Starlight and MM or, Stewie and Butcher. And then obviously we see Homelander and Soldier Boy and everything that happens there. So everything was happening. So the actual herogasm thing that was in the kind of background. That's not really the important thing that's happening. So yeah, obviously it's a big talking point and obviously some funny scenes and things like that. But really, there was a background to the story which I really liked, and it was that setting was an integral part of the story, meaning that people met here and obviously the showdown at the end. So yeah, another fantastic episode of The Boys. And I'm glad that they put the story before the kind of crudeness and the ultra violence things, because that's just what they're getting right. And it's fantastic. And yeah, it was a good episode. Really, really, really liked it.
Yeah, it was. I definitely expected that, just from the way the series had gone so far, I was expecting, if not almost afraid, that the crudeness of what herogasm was going to be the focal point of this entire episode. It was extreme, but it wasn't as extreme as I was actually expecting it to be. And I think a lot of that, because they've said in some interviews in the last week since the episodes come out, that they actually had to tone it down from what they wanted to do, because Amazon kind of put their foot down, like, as well as the FCC, saying like, there are certain things that you guys just cannot do, even with CGI. Like, you just cannot show it, which kind of makes me want to read that script. So, and like you, I was really impressed with the story beats of this episode. I never thought I would say this, but I kind of feel like they should use the Herogasm episode as their Emmy submission, because between Anthony Stark's moment as Homelander early in the episode, did I say Stark?
Yeah. Anthony Stark of Westeros.
But Homelander's moment early in the episode with himself, his Gollum moment, we'll call it. The moment between Huey and A-Train and Blue Hawk, the stuff with MM. I mean, everybody. There was like some of the best acting and writing I have seen, and the stuff with Kimiko and Frenchie, some of the best writing I've seen from this show throughout 2.5 seasons. So submit Herogasm for an Emmy, I guess. Soul, how are you thinking?
So when I heard you talk about it, because you've read the comics, I haven't, and then like other people who have read the comics talking about Herogasm, and then like I'm forgetting the name of the actress who plays Starlight,
Erin Moriarty.
Yeah, she puts a post up that I'm like, oh, this is gonna be like the whole episode. This is gonna be, and then you even get like at the beginning, I even wrote it down exact word for word. Some scenes may not be suitable for some, really most. Let's be honest, all viewers, but rest assured that any consensual relationship depicted, be they human, animal, superhero, or other, aren't real, harmed no one, and in fact cost a hilariously large amount in visual effects. And so I was just like, one, cracked up from the moment that was on like the screen, but also I was like, oh, this is going to be the whole episode. And like Bogz was saying, you got it in later in the episode. It wasn't that long. It was more of the background. Like you were saying, there's great acting moments in this episode. And so I was just like, okay, this was way less extreme than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, it was almost one of those, like, I had to really get to the end of the episode because, like you said, everyone in the show on social media was building this up as like this was the whole episode was just going to be wall to wall, let's call it hedonism. And I love that word, and that's really, so at first I was like, did they oversell this? But when you see the whole episode in its entirety and get to the end, I was like what, like Bogz said, they put the story first, and they're absolutely crushing it. I do really want to talk about Homelander's scene that we had towards the beginning of the episode, where I guess he's having this Gollum moment. He's fighting with himself in the mirror, and I think I remember. I think I had to kind of pause for a second, just think like that. It was phenomenal. It was a phenomenal moment of acting. Soul, what did you think about our kind of glimpse into Homelander's psyche with this one?
Well, earlier in the episode, he said, if this company fails, I fail. And then, like, I wrote down why. Why does he care so much? And we always have this, like, kind of thought of Homelander is like, he just wants to be loved. But if he can't be loved, then he's fine being feared. Like, he's fine being the asshole. He's fine being the jackass. But at his core, he just really, really wants to be loved by everyone. He's just a fucked up individual that has never been loved in his life. And so he's finding out too in the last episode, Maeve didn't actually care for him at all. And you really find out more, like, in his life, he's finding out the people don't care for me. Stormlight only liked me because I was blonde hair, blue eyed, her ideals kind of thing. It's so he's really at that crossroad of, like, there's the person that kind of protects him is that person in the mirror by being an asshole, but then in his core he just wants to be loved. And I really think after watching like Moon Knight, like that might be like a DID kind of situation where he created personalities out of the trauma of what he went through as a child.
It's really interesting to see just how much, because realizing kind of how little we know about his life pre-Vought. We know that he has a fictional secret identity backstory that's been pushed as propaganda by Vought, but we really don't know a whole lot about it. And I thought it was an interesting moment, especially at the end when he, kind of looks at Soldier Boy like, like this was like he emulated or tried to emulate who Soldier Boy was to an extent. And I wonder if being kind of taken down a notch by Soldier Boy really kind of got under his skin. Bogz, I'm kind of curious what you think, A, about Homelander's moment earlier, and B, how you think maybe it played out with everything with Soldier Boy towards the end.
Oh, well, the start, yeah, it was great with like you said, the whole Gollum moment and him finding his weird balance that he has, whether if it's like so saying his human side, the little that he's got. I think that the Homelander that we see is the consequence of him having this weird balance of, the small kind of mercy he has with people. That's his balance. It's so weird. Like it's like a real villain, like an actual real villain. Like you hear kind of his right and left shoulder like talking to each other. So it's like we were like in his internal monologue. Yeah, really good. And obviously what brought that on was Black Noir disappearing, kind of leaving him alone from from Soldier Boy seemingly, and going on the run. And obviously that kind of brought on the emotion and stuff. So yeah, he felt like obviously clearly Black Noir just for me just isn't obviously he was working with him, but he just wasn't as obviously we don't know too much about Black Noir, but I don't feel like he feels the same as Homelander did about him. So yeah, it's just the whole creepy kind of thoughts that he has. It's just getting to know the character more, seeing his inner monologue happen in front of us. Yeah, it's fantastic. And yeah, like you said, great acting. and I love the character. And then at the end, wow! I mean, the fight between them guys, I was, that's stuff that I wanted to kind of see when you first see these characters or hear these characters. As well, we haven't seen that much action this series from Homelander, so it was nice to see him, using his powers, his strength, his flying ability, and seeing this Captain America slash Winter
Superman.
Soldier hybrid against Superman, and then we see like an old man Logan slash Cyclops coming in. I mean, it's fantastic. What's not to like about it? And they're destroying the facility. And they did hint it earlier, where Starlight said, "Imagine when these two start fighting in this facility." And I thought, oh, maybe they would save it for the next episode, because it didn't happen. And we were like 45 minutes in, and I just thought, oh, okay, maybe they're going to save it for next week. And then we got it at the end. I mean, such a good episode, with all the emotional stuff at the start, and then obviously I'm jumping everywhere, but I just mentioned Starlight with MM and going. I just really liked the way that they had such an interesting story develop with together. There wasn't too I've mentioned before in previous reviews that I don't like MM's backstory. I just don't find it interesting, him about his kids and things like that. And the same with Starlight, her and Stewie, they're two relationships. I just don't
Huey.
find that. Starlight and Huey, they're too interesting. And just seeing what happened there with them two, just having their back and forth and trying to support each other, and then going into the herogasm and seeing all the things that happened to MM, I just found it hilarious. And that's the kind of, it just made the episode better. And then leading on to what happened with Butcher and Soldier Boy and them guys coming together, and then the fight at the end, it was such a good episode. So sorry, I jumped all over the place there.
No,
I got Stewie from Family Guy now in my head, honestly, as if he's in this show.
Starlight and Huey, Stewie, that's their couple name. But I will say, like, it's hard to pin. Like, I think like if anything, the weakest of this episode was maybe, I don't know, the stuff with the what's the politician's name, the one who's popping heads,
is her name Nancy?
Victoria Newman. I forget what her real name is.
Nadia or something like that.
Nadia.
And again, it was a great scene. It was probably the weakest of the scenes in the episode, just because it was like, oh, so she just knows. Okay,
pop my head or get the hell out. I love that.
It was a bet. I think it was a better moment from Starlight than it was from the person playing Nadia. But again, it was a short scene. There wasn't much to do. She was just supposed to be evil in the scene. I love the moment of intimidation where she just makes her nose bleed. Just like, it would be hard to kill you, but not impossible.
Well, I like the way that she Starlight stood up to her and said, forget all you guys. I hate this superhero stuff. And then that got paid off at the end with the whole kind of Instagram live thing, to say, look, see what these guys do. But for me, the worst part of the episode, again, I don't not like it, but I'm just letting you know the kind of slowest part is is the Kimiko and Frenchie stuff. It's just that just seems separate to everything else that's going on. Literally every other character was in that facility. And
Frenchie would have loved it.
Right. They kept saying
Frenchie would have loved it.
Laugh so hard.
And they all said it separately, right? It was funny. But just that their story is just not connected to, so far anyway, it's just not connected to what happened kind of towards the last 20 minutes of that episode. So I'd say that is the less interesting thing. But obviously she seemed to kind of, I mean, it's not dull. I mean, I'm interested in it, but I'm definitely more interested in the soup against the boys kind of thing.
I will agree
with down there.
I will agree with that too, because I love Frenchie and Kimiko, and I love their story. It could have probably been left out of this episode. Also, the little thing that got me is I was like, they got Kimiko real late after getting Frenchie. Like, it's nighttime when Frenchie is picked up by little Nina or Nina's like crew. But then, like, Kimiko's not picked up until the next day, but they're in the same hospital. You would have think that they would have been able to find her as well on the same night. So that was kind of like where I'm like, why was she not picked up till the next day?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it was something with like how they were torturing him, or I didn't quite. I think this kind of, and I agree with you guys. Like, yeah, it's so because they've always had kind of their own little pocket subplot
Mhm.
going on, but now it is so far removed from everything else going on. It kind of just reaffirms my feeling that those two are going to be gone at the end of this season in some way, shape, or form.
Don't say that, Mike. Don't say
Either they're going to leave or they're going to break my heart and take one of them out. But I think they're going to kind of like what they've hinted at with this season is they're going to leave. Maybe they get a spinoff. I don't know. But because of how distanced from the main story they are at this point, and with Kimiko not having her powers anymore, seemingly at all, like almost like they might never come back. Because I feel like if they were done, it would have been in this episode. That that's
She
probably what
might take some V.
I mean, she could, because in the comics, that's kind of what they do. Is they all take the V. The difference is they don't all get different powers. They all just get super jacked and can hang in a fight. But again, we're so far from the comics at this point too. It doesn't even who knows. So, but yeah, I do think that while it is a good story, it is definitely not the one I'm interested in seeing. I kind of am way more invested in what's going on with Homelander and Soldier Boy. To get kind of everything kind of tied off here, we get some strange amount of closure from with A Train on two different levels.
Yeah.
We have a fantastic moment. We have a crazy moment with him and Ashley, where we see just how much, like, now being the CEO, she is done giving a shit. She,
Speaking some truth.
yanks a chunk of hair out, rips into A Train. A Train is realizing kind of, and I think that shakes some reality into A Train that allows him to have this moment with Huey in the herogasm house, culminating with him just taking Blue Hawk out brutally, seemingly at what could potentially be the cost of his own life. Maybe it's kind of hard to tell from how the episode ends. What do you think about A Train's arc in this, Soul?
Yeah, I think this was the most like development of his character that we got was in this episode. Because that moment with Ashley, I think that's the first time he realized that his actions kind of like had consequences, like really, really, like he realized it a little bit in the last episode with his brother and with Blue Hawk. But I don't know if he really blamed himself in that. He might have, I think he blamed Blue Hawk in that last episode. I don't think it was until this moment with Ashley that he's like, no, it's me. It's me who's doing this. Like, I didn't give a shit when it was me killing people, me acting like this. Why should I expect other people to give a shit when it's now affecting me? So that was a really powerful moment there, and that where he was actually able to apologize to Huey, which I love so much that it was in the middle of that house where all that heathenism was happening around them, as the word you were using, and Huey being completely naked. And then also Huey punching him in the face, like getting a little bit of closure there with the powers that he has from the temp V, and like A Train being like, the fuck, you can actually
How did you do that?
How did you do that? And then just the brutality of like, I'm fucking done with you, Blue Hawk, dragging him through, knowing that if he starts running, because Doctor told him that could be the last time. And he's that upset about it, and got his closure with Huey, gonna get his closure with Blue Hawk. I don't think he's dead, but I think he's gonna be in the hospital / in a coma for probably until the last episode.
What about you, Boggs? Where are you sitting with how A Train was handled this episode?
Yeah, with A Train, I think Soul summed it up there. Like he always makes excuses. For the kind of, especially for all the kind of stuff he messes up with, or controversy he gets himself in, or whether it's drugs, whether it's killing people, whether it's letting people down, he makes excuses. And this was my favorite episode of the series with him in it, because he basically had that conversation with Ashley. She gave him a bit of kind of something to think about. And as soon as he saw, is it Blue Hawk? Is that the name?
Yeah.
Dragged his face through the floor. I mean, good. He should have done that straight away after his brother got hurt, to be honest. So, again, good death scene for that character, and and that happened obviously as the end of the as Soldier Boy kind of or whatever happened at the house. Sorry, as it all kind of all kind of anarchy was going on, and he obviously done that. It was a good reason. No one else seems to notice him, and obviously you mentioned Stu there with A-Train as well. So that scene was because obviously they had their kind of making up thing, and that. So I think now from that moment with Ashley, he's obviously taking control of his life, I guess. Whether if it's apologizing where he needs to. Well, it was kind of half, and he apologized, but is that sufficient enough for killing someone's girlfriend? And then obviously taking that out, obviously on Blue Hawk, it's something. Obviously, it's something of a trying to get better. And Willie, obviously, I presume he isn't dead, so. But will he obviously take that back to Vought and see if he can stand up to Homelander or Ashley again or someone else? And then, we'll see where that goes. But maybe the best character arc, as Saul said. But interesting. And obviously seeing him realize Stu is obviously some kind of has abilities now because of that punch. Obviously he knows, Homelander knows. So they now know amongst the Seven or Vought or whatever that these guys have abilities now. So what's going to come up of that? So what's going to be the discussions, or what's going to be the next step for them? Because they are obviously going to step up now because these guys have powers as well. So
and how much Tempe do they have left?
Mm-hmm.
Too,
and there's got to be a consequence of them injecting.
Yeah, and Maeve was their supplier, and Maeve is out of the picture right now.
Yeah. And we're starting to see, because we see that Huey, he touches his ear, and I don't know if it was blood or something coming out of it, but we're starting to see this is gonna have some effects. And like you said, we still don't know where Maeve is, and without her, they have a very limited supply. So it remains to be seen. But all in all, I think this is just such a great. And then of course, real quick, we get the payoff from something that Nadia set up in her scene. The idea of saying hey, you've got this massive social media influence. You help me out, I help you. And I think it's because of that conversation that, Starlight, now just Annie, has that moment at the end of what? Yeah, I do have this social media reach. I'm going to use it, because she's live for 5 seconds and has 13 million people watching her live video. That's impressive. And she just straight up says, I fucking quit. I'm done. Here's everything that's been going on. She is going full whistleblower on this.
Hashtag Vought lied and people died.
Vought lied and people died. Bogz, how'd you feel about the way the episode ended with Annie kind of dropping some truth bombs?
Yeah, it was good. That's they've obviously hinted at that before, Starlight kind of wanting to leave or having some kind of having a moral kind of judgment issue with being in the Seven or being a superhero. And obviously when a friend, I forgot his name, got killed by Homelander, obviously she had a
Supersonic?
I think so. Yeah, obviously that must have put further cemented it for her. She warned him, obviously, don't join this. These guys are terrible, they're murderers, etc. So yeah, she wanted to leave for a long time. So I think she's kind of morally the most straight character in the Seven. So obviously she found it a time to leave, and exposing them. We'll see where that goes. I'm sure they'll put a spin on it. But obviously that's kind of how it ended. But before that, Mike, there's a number of different scenes I just want to mention. A part of that,
there's so many. There's so many.
Yeah. In that, obviously, herogasm, the number of times I laughed out loud. First of all, with the whole kind of penis thing opening the door, and then, and
the second time happening to MM too.
Yeah, right. And not wanting to touch it, but get it away from me. And then when he opens the door, and then kind of something just ejaculates on it. It's
let's say frosted.
Yeah, and it's happening to him, and and Starlight's kind of seemingly okay.
Can't catch a break.
Yeah, and obviously seeing
the
deep
favorite jacket too.
Right, exactly, poor guy. And seeing what happens to the deep there, with the octopus and everything. Yeah, I saw that coming. I was like, where's this?
He
Like,
moved
right,
on to
he was
Timothy
too.
pretty quick.
Yeah, and I did find the twins really funny as well. And obviously,
They're good.
characters we've never seen before. Yeah, I was kind of interested in their kind of arguing and stuff.
Yeah.
And then obviously getting Soldier Boy, more getting to know him more. His personality more, more familiar with Butcher and obviously Stu, and having their kind of weird relationship and kind of bonding together, and then them accepting that, listen, we'll all take on Homelander, and obviously it happens, and it is a awesome action scene full of kind of emotion and a bit of history now, and they almost had him, they're this close, and obviously just managed to get away, but I was sweating for Homelander there. I thought that was going to be, I thought they were going to at least, I don't know, capture him or something, but they were that close to destroying him, and luckily for him it didn't happen. But I'm so excited to see what is he going to do now as a consequence. What is he going to recruit? He's going to get, I don't know, he needs obviously help, because these guys seemingly have got his number as a team, so he's obviously going to step it up. Or is he just going to kind of let go of his shred of humanity and kind of mercy that he has, and get rid of that character, if you will? So yeah, super interesting. But yeah, it ended great where she's exposed to Seven, so he even more things to piss off Homelander. Yeah. So he's just going to explode, and I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, I mean, like, we could spend an hour talking about all just the crazy, hilarious things that happened. Stormfront. I fell out of my chair.
The fact that it was Stormfront as Liberty, and Soldier Boy was the ones who created herogasm.
Yeah,
they're really creative, with all the kind of weird stuff that you see, or like there's powers that you thought, I never thought a power would do. Like, I just never put two and two together. Like that kind of stuff, just like they're super interesting to see. But
when you hear the woman scream "stretchy powers," it's like, that checks. No, you would. You absolutely
a bit disturbing, a bit weird how people can write this stuff and also think of it, and then and like I said, that's with the studio involvement, so they measured it down. So again, it's all contributes to real to fascinating entertainment. But
the ice powers. I was like,
there was like a heat one as well. I saw someone's like hand and feet and neck tied, or like
and
the heat
a flying Starlight marital aid. Just whizzes right past her face.
I remember that. Yeah.
Termite comes back and dies in just glorious termite fashion.
Right. But I do want to talk a little bit of like the mirroring that happened in this episode, of the fact, like with Homelander, where he's literally talking to himself in the mirror at the beginning, and then he was actually scared. Like, you saw like the fear in his, like, before he left. Like, it was just a glimpse there, but and I don't think we've ever seen fear on his face before. So like that little shred of humanity there showing in fear, that was very interesting to me. And then also just the mirroring of, you start with the Imagine video, which I laughed so hard, and then you end with Instagram Live, and I was like, Camille! Like, when he showed up to singing, and then the Black Noir cue cards killed me.
That did it. Their way of finding ways to make Black Noir part of the humor have been fantastic. When Homelander is yelling at everybody, "You're all screwing up except you, Noir. You're perfect. Don't change a thing." And he's just doodling.
He's just doodling, yeah.
His scene in the elevator is gruesome, but also kind of hilarious in a dark way.
Immediately after Homelander goes, "You'll never betray me," and then
I'm out. There's so much good. This show just knocks it out of the park.
We gotta talk about Kimiko and Frenchie.
Yeah, Kimiko and Frenchie. It just was. I mean, the only way I can describe it was just brutal. It's just brutal. It was one of the most brutal fight scenes we've seen in the show. you know, I mean, that guy was dead the moment he got stabbed in the leg, but Kimiko had a point to prove because watching her get punched in the side, I had to turn away. That was hard to watch. And the way that
she was looking at the kids before in the hospital, right? And obviously she was getting, you know, punched really hard in the stomach. You're like, oh no! So again, it's good storytelling. It was gruesome, but she's coming back.
What we know about from I forget the Russian girl's name.
I forgot.
Frenchie's old boss, whatever. But the story she was telling about, like
Sherry.
No, not her. Nina. The way that
he's Russian, not French.
But the way that she was talking about like his scars and stuff, and French. Again, we're learning a lot more about Frenchie too. It's a great side story, but again, it's just so detached from everything. But it's great character development, and Kimiko is just in such a dark place now because she's just like, okay, I thought it was the V, but apparently I'm just like this, and
I'm the monster. And then but having both of them have to convince each other that they're not the monster, because you see it just in Kimiko going, it's not my superpowers, it's just I'm this violent person, where it's like, no, you had to become this violent person with the superpowers, be forced into that. That's something hard to unlearn afterwards. So obviously, like, we as the viewers know this, but to her it's kind of like she had something to blame with her superpowers, and now that their superpowers are gone, she has no one to blame anymore. And so that's kind of like tough for her. And then just Frenchie, who ultimately just wants to be a good person, but has done some shitty stuff in his past. Like, and you get a little inklings of that with Nina. Like, even in the previously, when like asking him, this is a child. Oh, not like you haven't killed a child before, kind of thing. And so you get these darkness that you have in Frenchie that you really didn't see as much in the first 2 seasons, because he's just this happy-go-lucky guy. So you're really getting more into his psyche and just like the stuff that he hides from everyone else but Kimiko.
With the I'd say why it is the least interesting storyline is because with Kimiko, like, we knew that, as you said, so as an audience, like, we know that's your character and how you've been brought up or whatever, and it just spelled it out in front of her over the last few episodes. And with Frenchie, like, this whole Russian lady who's kind of blackmailing him and like just dropping things of information, that's kind of happening every episode now. I'm not sure where it's going exactly. It's a bit repetitive, a bit drawn out, so that's why I'm not as compelled on that storyline. I mean, it's fine, but it's just not nowhere near as, like, with the other stuff, I have no idea who's going to make it out of what scene. Like, people can die in each scene, but with that stuff, it's just like, it's the same thing like last 3 episodes now. So that's just why, for me, that's not as perfect as the rest. Basically, it's still fine, but it's not as good.
I think.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was gonna it's kind of like when we reviewed Mandalorian on another YouTube channel in the past, where like was it season 2, where it was like episode 2 goes, everything else has been like a 5 out of 5. So when you get like a 3.5 out of 5, a 4 out of 5, that's the worst part of the season, but it's not bad. It's just not as good as what everything else. So I feel like that's what the Frenchie and Kimiko stuff is that it's good. It's just everything else is such high quality that it's just a little bit lower.
It's a little hand-holdy. Like, it's one of those, like, it's it interesting, yes, but kind of like I've been talking about with a certain subplot on the Orville, like, I need it to get where it's going, like, fast, because we're taking a little bit longer than I'd like to get wherever this is trying to end up. And I'm at a point now, I'm like, can we go ahead and get there? Because like you said, Bogz, like, okay, we get it. We understand. Let's get this over with, and let's get to where we're trying to go. So yeah, but all in all, I don't think it detracted from the episode at all. It was almost, this is a weird thing to say considering how messed up and brutal it is. It was almost like a palate cleanser from everything else. Like, everything else was so goofy and just weird and raunchy and silly, and it was almost like let's have a bit of a tonal shift for a bit. Remember that like there are actually like other things going on. Let's take a break from the orgy and go watch some brutal murder and torture, because this is a fun show. But yeah, all in all, you guys got any other big points you want to bring up? I mean, there's a lot in this episode. Anything else you guys want to bring up here?
It's fun. Don't watch this with any other person. Watch it by yourself. Make sure, if you live with your parents, do not watch this episode when they are awake. Don't do it. But it's super fun.
Yeah, Boggs, about you?
Yeah, just again, another excellent episode. Maybe my favorite one. I don't know. I'd have to think about it. But yeah, it's got everything. It's on top, and then the core of it is an epic superhero fight as well, as it should do in a comic book. Story. It doesn't negate that or neglect that. Yeah, where the best characters are going at it physically, mentally. The storylines are great. All the characters coming together. The storylines coming together. You get payoffs. Characters are dying. It's hilarious. It's gruesome, etc. Brutal, violent, but also really tender with certain scenes as well. So it's got everything. If you like superheroes, it's a must-watch series, and I'm really enjoying it. Can't wait for the next episode.
Yeah, I've as you go along, you're kind of like, okay, is this my new favorite? Is this my new favorite? I'm gonna have to see what they're doing next week to top this episode, just because this was so good. I mean, A+ acting all around, great writing. The humor lands, the raunchiness delivers. There's not as much of it as I thought it was gonna be, but what is there is raunchy. So it's got everything. And if you haven't watched this episode yet, what are you doing? I still contest that The Boys is the best streaming series on right now, at least that I've watched. So go check it out. Let us know what you thought down in the comments and on Twitter. All our Twitter stuff's down in the description. Like and subscribe, hit the bell, check out everything else we got going on here on the channel. And until next time, we'll see you guys again soon here on Off the Wall.